Da, da, da.
You're a bit too close. Sorry. Maybe you can go on. Seriously.
Just sit next to us. Take a seat.
Listen, Casper.
Mm-hmm.
You're older than me, so you have to sit at the front.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, I'll
I
I'll sit in the front.
understand.
All right. All rise, please, for the aspiration that Julia will read for us.
Victorious Buddhas, compassionate ones, throughout the infinite worlds of the 10 directions, grant your blessings so that the inner and outer work that I accomplished today bears the fruits that multiply beyond imagining and extend to the very limits of this existence to benefit myself, the ones I love, and the countless other beings of the 6 realms.
Thank you, Julia. So, for those that are new to Buddhism, this is a Tibetan Buddhist practice, actually, of dedicating. Actually, we aspire to create merit through our work today, and we dedicate it to others so that they may feel better. Everything that we do here is pretty much altruistic and is not geared towards ourselves, although it will eventually help us. You may now sit, and I will. Well, just give me a second, Emma. I'm gonna speak a few minutes about maybe VRCon, and then we can proceed with the reading.
Okay.
All right. So, yes, VRCon. Some of you, if not half of you, today are from. I met at VRCon, or you met my colleagues. So it's so very nice that you are here. I was mentioning earlier that we have 80. That's amazing new members from this weekend. And I actually was told by the organizers that on Friday alone, 26,000 people had visited VRCon. So I think one thing we can call it is successful. They did a very good job at getting the communities known, including ourselves. And so today you are here for a first teaching and meditation session with us. I would like to invite you to, apart from our little protocol here, just drop all apprehension. Buddhism is not that strange, actually. It really is an ancient science of the mind. And you have joined us actually at a very auspicious time because we, over the last several weeks, have been speaking about the Buddha and who he was and his different ways of manifesting in the world because it's both like a person and a representation of the universe, if you will. But now we are starting today with the teaching of the Buddha. So, with a central teaching that is called the Fourfold Noble Truth. And we're going to have a little reading about that and a little commentary. Also, Ready Player Emma has been a practitioner for quite some time. So, if you've been around for a while, you know that I like to do some collaborations. Sometimes NeoJax leads sessions with us. Sometimes we receive masters. Today, I've asked somebody if they could read, and Emma suggested that she could give us a little definition of what suffering or dukkha means. And so I will invite her to the lectern to tell us a little bit. Last time we learned about ignorance. This time we will learn a little bit about suffering, and then she will proceed with the reading, and I will do the commentary. So Emma, if you want to join me, please.
Yeah, so let me just get situated here. So welcome everyone. I think this is the most people that I have ever
10
seen
virtues.
attending at one time, and it looks like we may even run out of chairs if we continue growing. So thank you all for coming, and So today the reading, as Zenkei said, is on the Four Noble Truths. And the Four Noble Truths are probably like the most core elements of Buddhism that exist. But they're kind of the basis that the rest of what we'll learn is built upon. So this is like the truth of understanding, but you don't necessarily have to completely understand now, but it is the basis that later on the Eightfold Path is designed to work with, to help us progress away from what you'll hear referred to as suffering in today's reading. But I would like to talk a little bit before we start about the word suffering. So the word suffering, as is written in this text and is most often used in the English translations about Buddhism, isn't actually like literally the same way that most people interpret suffering, I feel. Most people think of suffering as like, similar to pain, or even sometimes like, great pain, like a lot of suffering, or like you would experience in like illness or something. But the word suffering, as is common in English Buddhist texts, actually comes originally from the older Buddhist texts prior to being translated to English, from the word dukkha, which is from the Pali language. And dukkha in the Pali language doesn't quite mean the same thing as suffering in English. So first off, dukkha is actually kind of like the opposite of another word called sukha. And sukha basically means happiness. So dukkha is almost better translated as unhappiness. But in another way, it's a little bit richer than that still, because there is the etymology of the word, or what the word meant before it was commonly used in Buddhism, even back then in the Pali language, comes from a concept of an unbalanced wagon wheel. So as we're all going through our journey in life, we are kind of progressing through things. And if you imagine us progressing through life on a wagon, and we have an unbalanced wagon wheel, everything we experience is going to be colored by that. Our journey is rough and uncomfortable, and sometimes even when we're going through the good times, can be more challenging than it needs to be. And if we're going through challenging times, it can be especially difficult when everything is more unbalanced. So when we see the word suffering here, kind of remember that context, that it doesn't always mean literally the same thing as suffering in English, but it's more about being unbalanced in mind, in a way that causes like this background unhappiness in our life, regardless of the other context around things. And we'll probably hear a lot more talking about that when there are other guests or Buddhist teachers that also come and speak. So I'll go ahead and start with the reading then.
Please,
So,
thank you.
yeah. The Fourfold Noble Truth. The world is full of suffering. Birth is suffering. Old age is suffering. Sickness and death are sufferings. To meet a person whom one hates is suffering. To be separated from a beloved one is suffering. To be vainly struggling to satisfy one's needs is suffering. In fact, life that is not free from desire and passion is always involved with distress. This is called the truth of suffering. The cause of human suffering is undoubtedly found in the thirsts of the physical body and in the illusions of worldly passion. If these thirsts and illusions are traced to their source, they're found to be rooted in the intense desires of physical instincts. Thus, desire, having a strong will to live as its basis, seeks that which feels desirable, even if it is sometimes death. This is called the truth of the cause of suffering. If desire, which lies at the root of all human passion, can be removed, then passion will die out, and all human suffering will be ended. This is called the truth of the cessation of suffering. In order to enter into a state where there is no desire and no suffering, one must follow a certain path. The stages of this eightfold path are right view, right speech, right behavior, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. This is called the truth of the noble path to the cessation of the cause of suffering. And just briefly, I would like to say that the Eightfold Path also has many different translations, and it's not necessary to understand what all of those parts of the Eightfold Path mean today, because there'll be a whole nother section covering that in more depth, as well as talking about what those phrases really mean as you translate the concepts themselves to English. Really mean.
I think she lost sound, didn't she?
You're mute. Yeah, you're muted.
Karl,
We can't hear you
I can
anymore.
try to explain to you.
Shh.
Sorry.
Let's do that later, Spearman.
Yeah. Now okay.
Yes.
Okay, there was a little glitch in my headset, I apologize. So to continue with the text. People should keep these truths clearly in mind, for the world is filled with suffering, and if anyone wishes to escape suffering, he must sever the ties of worldly passion, which is the sole cause of suffering. The way of life, which is free from all worldly passion and suffering, can only be known through enlightenment. Enlightenment can only be attained through the discipline of the Noble Eightfold Path. All those who are seeking enlightenment must understand the Fourfold Noble Truth. Without understanding this, they will wander interminably in the bewildering maze of life's illusions. Those who understand this Fourfold Truth are called the people who have acquired the eyes of enlightenment. Therefore, those who wish to follow the Buddha's teachings should concentrate their minds on this Fourfold Noble Truth and seek to maintain their understanding of its meaning clear. In all ages, a saint, if he is a true saint, is one who understands it and teaches it to others. When a person clearly understands the Fourfold Noble Truth, then the Noble Eightfold Path will lead one away from greed. And if a person is free from greed, one will not quarrel with the world. One will not kill, nor steal, nor commit adultery, nor cheat, nor abuse, nor flatter, nor envy, nor lose one's temper, nor forget the transiency of life, nor will one be unjust. Following the noble path is like entering a dark room with a light in the hand. The darkness will all be cleared away, and the room will be filled with light. People who understand the meaning of the noble truths have learned to follow the noble path and are in possession of the light of wisdom that will clear away the darkness of ignorance. Buddha leads people merely by indicating to them the Fourfold Noble Truth. Those who understand it properly will attain enlightenment. They will be able to guide and support others in this bewildering world, and they will be worthy of trust. When the Fourfold Noble Truth is clearly understood, all the sources of worldly passion are dried up. Advancing this Fourfold Noble Truth, the disciples of Buddha will attain all other precious truths. They will gain the wisdom and insight to understand all meanings, and will become capable of preaching the Dharma to all people of the world. So that is the first section on the Four Noble Truths. One other brief thing I just want to mention is when you read the section about, when you reach that point, you'll be free from greed. You won't quarrel with the world or do all of those things. Buddhism is not here to, dictate rules for your life, but it is a guide that, if you follow, will lead you to happiness. So when you read those things, keep in mind that Buddhism isn't some religions that might order you to behave a certain way or something for fear of consequences, but rather is just saying, if you want to find happiness in this life, here is a guide, a path to understanding these truths and working away from that dukkha, that suffering, towards happiness. So with that, I will take a seat.
Thank you very much. I
Yeah,
appreciate
definitely.
it, Emma. Thank you very much.
You are most welcome.
All right. Okay, so let us settle in a little bit. Let us take a few deep breaths so that we're relaxed and open. We are not distracted. And what I do usually after the reading is I try to unpack the teaching a little bit, modernize it a little bit, and as Emma was doing already, when some things could be open to misinterpretation, I kind of try to clarify that. So in our excerpt today, birth, sickness, death, hate, separation, and struggle are all described as forms of suffering. So today I want to focus really on the Fourfold Noble Truth and on needs and desire and fear and how they kind of affect our life. But before we open a discussion about desire, passion, and these things, I would like us to ask ourselves why. Why are these things considered forms of suffering? How is it painful to be born, for example? How does it all work? So all of these phenomena imply a change of state, from unborn to born, from healthy to sick, alive to dead, blissful to hateful, connected to separated, from living easily to struggling. And a change of state supposes an ending. And as a rule, human beings do not deal well with endings. We even have invented the words for that, especially for this type of pain, actually. We call it grief. And although it's a word that we most often use for death and the loss of our loved ones, it's good to notice that grief also happens when any kind of change happens. I drop my favorite cup from the cupboard and it breaks. well, I'm sad for a few moments because I don't have my favorite cups anymore. So I have to grieve it. So although it's short-lived, we still have that feeling of grief in our hearts for a little while. In my field, and not only in my field, I hear people talk about it all the time. People talk about change resistance. And I don't think that as humans we resist change, but rather that we crave a predictable world that does exactly what we like to feel safe. So somehow, in the back of our mind, we know that everything in this world is transient, and not realizing that we are part of this dance, of this movement, we give way to an instinct to cling onto the things that bring us comfort. Pain happens when these attachments that we create are forcefully severed from us. These events can take many shapes and forms, such as I mentioned earlier, an object breaking or a relationship coming to an end, or it could be an accident taking the life of someone that we love dearly. Ironically, if we controlled our environment completely, we would not only get bored, but would probably slowly wither and die. Is left unchallenged, our minds, our hearts, our muscles and bodies are of little use to us, and so we would slowly discover that real death lies in the unchanging and in permanence, not in change. So when Buddhism speaks about the illusion of life, that's one big illusion there. The illusion of permanency, the illusion of the unchanging that we kind of want to have. Even clinging to permanent happiness, clinging to that goal of attaining enlightenment or nirvana in Buddhism is kind of an illusion. Because it's not about never experiencing any form of pain or suffering anymore. It's just about this experience being written on water and not leaving any trace in your being. It's about being resilient and restoring your shape when dealing with change. So we speak of change in terms of death and grief, but it is always good to remember that creation is but the other side of destruction. When a significant relationship with someone or something fades away, we are automatically given the opportunity to relate with our world anew, differently. Maybe in a way that is more mature and even more meaningful. Maybe in a way that is less insecure and jealous. The Fourfold Noble Truth says that the root of suffering is found in the thirst of the physical body and in the illusions of worldly passions. That if we were to trace back each and every desire that we have, we would sooner or later find that it is connected to a physical instinct. They have dropped instincts in the literature, psychiatric and psychoanalysis and psychology, and now they call them pulsions. One big thing is the pulsion of life, which Freud associated with the sexual energy, which is very strong. But also we have different pulsions to live and express ourselves. Whenever I think of these things, what I am always reminded of is Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maybe some of you have seen this pyramid before. It has 5 levels and organizes human needs, and I am adding desires, into categories such as physiological, safety, love and belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. For me, and based on the Buddha's teaching, only the base level represents true human needs. It's about breathing, eating, drinking, producing, sleeping, and expression, which all hold tremendous power, even in animals. Animals move because of these instincts or pulsions. So these are the things that we need to do to stay alive, both as individuals and as a race. So it is logical that it should be hard-coded in us, that these things should be very strong in us. But then we also crave safety, it says in the pyramid, which is like the level just above. And the reason we crave safety is actually not so much a need, but more of a desire already. The thing is that we think that if we have all of the resources now to care for ourselves and our loved one in the future, we will be okay. So safety is about the want of a job, of a family, of a home, of good health, and of all kinds of material properties. It is actually the birth of materialism and the illusion that if I fill myself with a lot of things, I kind of become immortal or I become protected from the world. So you see that as soon as desire is born in us, kind of delusion is also born in us. See, there's a trap there. We could fall into the traps of materialism and gather more than we need. At the next level of the pyramid, the book talks about, well, Abraham Maslow's book, that is, belonging, and it's pretty much about our self-image. We find it reassuring when we feel loved by others. It could be family, friends, or a life partner. And we tend to look for our self-worth in the mirror of relationship, actually. Now, what's important to know is that a mirror of relationship is like a circus mirror. It deforms because it goes through the filter of that person, their emotions, their knowledge, their general outlook of life, and the image that it throws back at you is not loyal to really who you are. So it's a mistake to gauge yourself by looking at the relationships that you develop with people and how they act with you. Nonetheless, we do it. And when the mirror provides the reflection that we want to see, we tend to feel better about ourselves. So basically, if you hang around violent people, they will give you positive feedback when you become violent. If you hang around sweet people, you will get good feedback when you are acting sweet. If you're with rich people, they will congratulate you when you're rich. And if you are poor, they will probably teach you to hate the rich. So that's kind of how this works. And again, we create all of these artificial desires based on the feedback that we have from our environment. Afraid to lose this sense of self-worth that we have developed and the safety that we have managed to gather materially, some of us then try to own the social ladder. We might try to become a manager or to try to become famous. So we look for respect and prestige. We look to impress by displaying our wits or through the brands that we wear or the things that we do. The idea is that if we own the ladder, unconsciously, we think we cannot go back to our previous fragile self. We cannot fall off the ladder that we own. So if people look up to us, venerate us, then certainly they will carry us and we will be safe. Imagine the rock star that jumps in the crowd and they just carry him. Right? That's kind of what we're trying to do psychologically by looking for prestige and fame. Up to that point, Maslow's pyramid really is about the fears that fuel our desires. There's something profound behind that, and there's also a lot of suffering involved because we are basically moved by our deep insecurities. We are too busy reacting to life and to our feelings of lack to take the time to act intelligently. If we look at the very base of the pyramid, lower than the physiological needs, we find that even our physical instincts are motivated by a fear of death, which is a bit of a contradiction with what they were saying in the text, that we can also desire death, but that's like extreme delusion. I don't think I will get in that right now, but anyway, so you try to eat and to breathe and to reproduce because you don't want to die. And once you realize that, you start to understand that everything is built upon that foundation. You understand that people build bigger homes multiply sexual partners, and buy Ferraris mainly because they are afraid of their own disappearance. They're afraid not to make it, not to be a sufficient human being, which is something terrible that we do to ourselves. I always like to say, you know, cats do not ask if they're good cats, and dogs do not ask if they're good dogs. They're too busy being cats and dogs. But as humans, that's not how we are. We spend a good deal of our life wondering if we're good enough, and we die before we know. So, the fear of death basically manifests in countless subtle ways in our lives. Maslow's pyramid has good news in it and culminates at the level called self-actualization, where your character loses its prejudice and grows in acceptance. So your newfound maturity brings you peace. And this is very similar to what enlightened beings experience on the Buddhist path. They're not driven by their desires and their cravings anymore because fear is gone. And fear is gone because they have embraced their own mortality, and therefore they are not easily moved by material things, social politics, or the ups and downs of daily life. We often find translations of Buddhist scriptures where they talk about cutting off, controlling, or eliminating desires. This is mistaken. As Emma was mentioning earlier, these are not directives. Actually, they're more like a consequence and not an action that you need to take. If you simply fight against your own self and your own desire, you will never find the peace that you are looking for, because you're fighting. So once we understand our desires and especially how they relate to our deepest fears and frustrations, they will simply start falling off naturally. It also helps to practice observing and not following every craving that we have. In meditation, that happens to us. For example, you're sitting and you're quiet and you start hitching. And then the hitch, if you start focusing on it, it becomes terrible. It becomes a big thing and it prevents you from concentrating and from staying there. But the thing is, the hitch is not going to kill you. If you don't follow that craving, the itch eventually will just go away. So it is, I would say, a desire practice to just stay with your itch in meditation and let it subside of its own accord. We also crave following our thoughts or following strong feelings, but we can also simply observe them and let them do their things without being moved by them. And as you get into that discipline, what you see is that your control over your life naturally grows, not because you're making an effort to control, simply because it's less out of control. So it's the same analogy about suffering that, again, Emma was mentioning in the beginning, that it's like you have more balance in your life because you're less off balance. Now you have 4 wheels, right? So there's nothing specific to do, it just happens. So speaking about all of those cravings, I have recently recommended a wonderful talk about what Tibetans call Shenpas to someone in our Sangha. And the talk is called Don't Bite the Hook, and is given by Pima Chodron that some of you follow. So it explains very clearly over 3 or 4 hours how we fall prey to our attachments and even how we get addicted to certain things, whether they be substances or people or emotional habits. So this is a talk that you can find on Audible, and if you would like, you can listen to it. I can provide the link on the Discord or whatever. But most importantly, study your own self. And this topic of craving, desires, attachments, fears, and it will definitely help you acquire what they refer to as the eyes of enlightenment. Also, the scripture says, and I think that's what Emma had commented upon in the end, that a person free from greed will not quarrel with the world, will not kill, steal, commit adultery, cheat, abuse, flatter, envy, and all of that. And I think this is very interesting because it exposes desire for what it is. All of these actions happen as a result of our rejection of reality, and they are attempts to control our world. So basically, we quarrel with the world because we want it to be otherwise. We say, no, this is not how I want it. We fight with people and we tell them our point of view, and we want our point of view to be better than theirs. In extreme case, we kill to eliminate those that could fight back. That's what entire nations do. When a country becomes a problem, they just bump it. Some of us steal because we maintain a wicked relationship with all things material. We also tend to be frustrated with others because we look for our own personal satisfaction in the relationships that we form. So it's as if the world was put there to satisfy us. We wonder how the entire world could serve us, but rarely think of how we could serve the world better. Even worse, most of the fears that motivate our behaviors are made up. There is a graph that I use when I need to teach people about ethics, and it's a very simple graph made of two axes. One vertical axis is for ethics, so high ethics to low ethics, and one horizontal axis is for the level of threat experience, low threat to high threat. And what this graph shows is that the more desperate we are, the less ethical we become. For example, you probably wouldn't kill anybody in your normal daily life. But what if somebody tried to kill you, or tried to kill someone that you love dearly? Wouldn't you defend yourself and maybe kill them? So in the same way, people don't normally steal food, but most of us wouldn't think twice about it if we were starving. The problem is not the action itself, but the feeling that led to it, and how that feeling was constructed. So there is a fable in Buddhism of a man that steps on a rope in the darkness and is then paralyzed by fear. For the rest of the night, he can't sleep because he thinks that he just stepped on a venomous snake. So we could also imagine this man running outside or destroying his house trying to kill the imaginary snake. Unfortunately, this is exactly what we do most of the time. We compromise the goodness and peace of our human nature to give way to the chaos brought about by our insecurities. And at the other end of the spectrum, people who do not feel threatened do not feel the need to act unethically. But it doesn't mean that they will never run out of food, does it? Or that they will never lose their jobs? Or that every relationship will bring them lasting satisfaction? Of course, it could be that they were just lucky, born with a silver spoon in their mouth, and have so far enjoyed an exceptionally unchallenged good life. If so, they would probably not react any better than us when misfortune strikes them. But for others that manage to live an ethical, moral life while being challenged, something else is going on. And it's often simply because they have found peace. They feel it, they feel peace. And their feeling of security comes from within and is therefore very reliable. At the Arcana was talking about somebody and saying how amazing it was that even in the world wars, there is always like somebody that is keeping it together. And not only are they keeping it together, but they manage to find the strength to help others and even to joke. This is very enlightened behavior. This is the inner Buddha that we all need to connect with, and the best refuge you could find. I always liked the idea that one source of light can dissipate all darkness, but that no darkness could ever obscure any amount of light. Wisdom truly works like that. Once your eyes are open to the true nature of fear and illusions, they become powerless over you. And then, from a single candle, you can light 1,000 more. That is the most important work that we could do, finding peace for ourselves so that we can help each others find it as well. It is also the only way to build a better world as far as I'm concerned. Everything else, sadly, does not work. And if you are skeptical about this affirmation, think about it. Challenge it. Trying to change the world as we are motivated by our fears is like trying to put out a fire with oil. It will only make things worse. To To seek enlightenment means to be willing to become intimate with all things that make up this world, starting with ourselves. And if we can approach this universe free of fear and free of judgment, all of its mysteries will be revealed. Usually in traditional teachings, a lot of time is spent on the Eightfold Path. And I think we will revisit that one topic by one topic later. So I'm just going to take it literally right now, the way it's written in the book, and just tell you very fast how this works. So, right view in the eyes of enlightenment is really about this, recognizing your desires and your cravings and your fears for what they are. And once you do that, they become powerless. Right thought is about not following too much your mental cravings. It's about knowing that thoughts want to do their own thing when you're not like using it to solve a mathematical problem. They just pop in your head and try to show off your insatisfactions. So if you go and embrace all of these thoughts and follow them, then you kind of lose control, you lose your way. Right speech is one way of becoming intimate, and believe it or not, this is one of the toughest. Some people are blessed with natural quietness and they listen a lot, but most of us just put a foot in our mouth. We don't say the right things at the right time. We indulge in small talk. Sometimes we reveal secrets. We do all kinds of things with our mouth that are not very recommendable to bring about peace. So there it's good to simply apply the rule that we should listen twice as much as we speak, as we have 2 ears and only 1 mouth. Right behavior is simply behavior that is not motivated by fear, that is not motivated by despair, that is not a reaction. So behavior that is fueled by a genuine aspiration, that is fueled by genuine love, creativity, and intelligence is right behavior. Right livelihood is, if you have the view, then you should know what hurts and what is not hurting others, what's creating chaos for you and what's creating peace. So it's just about choosing a way to make a living that's along those lines. If you're a professional hitman for the mafia, that's probably not right livelihood. Right effort. Right effort is the concept of Wu Wei that I spoke a little bit about last time. It's effortless effort. So basically it means, yes, you do move and yes, you do spend energy, but you don't suffer mentally as you do it. Like somebody that goes to wash the dishes or do the chores and complain about it, that's not right effort. If you can do it without thinking much about it and even do it joyfully, that's right effort. Right mindfulness is about this muscle that we develop through meditation and is the ability to notice when our mind wanders away. So being mindful is simply the ability to bring ourselves back to peace when we lose our way. And then right concentration is about basically stabilizing all of that, living in such a way that we are never taken too much out of balance, or that we recover very fast from it. So it's not concentration in the traditional sense, because concentration is an exclusion. It's like I focus on this and I exclude all of the rest of the world. It's more like concentration as a resilient thing that I go back to it to finish my job, right? So it's a concentration that accomplishes things. And that's it. If you start living according to these principles, according to Buddhism, it will bring about the cessation of suffering. And as I mentioned last time, there are 2 ways to go about that. Before you have the highs, you kind of could fake it till you get it. Like you could watch your speech, you could watch your behavior, you could try to live good. But then when you open your eyes for real, it will just happen naturally more and more in your life. So it's good to practice before, as practicing will happen naturally after. And I guess that's it for today. And I am extremely curious to know how many of you are asleep now, how many followed, how many liked it. So I'd like to hear you. Any questions, commentaries? How's this first session for you guys? Anybody?
Enjoyable.
You liked it?
So relaxing.
Is there
Go
anything
ahead,
that
Spearman, if
spoke
you want to say
you
something.
Personally?
I'm very sorry, sir. May I ask again, what was the first path?
I'm sorry, the first path? You mean the first aspect of the Noble Eightfold Path?
Yes,
It was right view.
the right view.
Right. Actually, nothing in the Eightfold Path is very efficient unless you really kind of open your eyes. That's what I meant by it's like faking it till you get it. But once you have your eyes open, then your entire perspective of the world changes. And
I
I'll
see.
do that distinction again, maybe. You know, people talk about awakened beings and they talk about enlightened beings. And I like to kind of differentiate them that way. You could have the eyes, but not be enlightened all the time. Like you're in process of rebuilding yourself, of deepening your understanding. And so you're awake. And if you are not too lost at this moment, you are in process of becoming something very smooth and very harmonious with life. But like a fully enlightened being, as it's often referred to Buddha, is basically somebody that never loses that. They are always peaceful and they are never shaken and they browse through life. That's something that they say about the Dalai Lama. That the Dalai Lama, when he laughs, he doesn't laugh very long, and he does get angry, and he will tell you that it is healthy to get angry. But when he gets angry, actually, it's because he values who he is and what he has, and he expresses that. But then he's back. The anger does not stick to his mind. So it's probably one of the being closest to perfect enlightenment that we have. And he looks like a regular guy. There's nothing too magical. He doesn't float around as he travels. He just walks like us. But his inner life is very rich and very peaceful. I mean, once you don't have any fear, any inhibitions, when you have joyful thoughts and you're very satisfied with everything that happens in your life, what more enlightenment do you want? I'm curious also if anybody heard some things today and felt like it related to their personal life. Did somebody experience that?
I did.
Well,
Please tell, I don't know who spoke first, but please tell us about that.
So,
Have a lot to say.
one thing I noticed myself doing a lot is thinking about how others see me and obsessing about a good image. And sometimes
Right.
I let that get out of control.
Do you have like social anxiety as a result of that sometimes?
Yes.
Right. Because that's the natural consequence, isn't it? We would walk into a mall and we're so concerned about our shoes or our pants or our airs. We think that's all that people are looking at, but really they're not. We're doing that to ourselves. We have just stepped on the rope thinking it's a snake. Spearman, did you want to say something?
No, nothing.
All right. Okay, so let us maybe move towards our little meditation today. The way that we do that is we use three techniques, but since there are so many new faces today, I think I will do just one. Today we will practice shamatha. Shamatha is a peace abiding meditation, and it's probably the most important one. It's about getting in a relaxed state, disconnecting ourselves a little bit from the passions of the world, and developing the ability to bring our mind back to the peace. So that's everything that shamatha does. And it's very simple. So let me give you just very basic sitting instructions if you've never meditated before. First of all, posture is a lot of it. you should use your legs as a platform. It doesn't really matter if you sit in full lotus with both of your ankle on your thighs, or half lotus with just one above, or Burmese with both legs folded in front of the other, or just cross-legged. It really doesn't matter. You can use a chair. What's important is that the base of your body is solid and supports you well, so that you're not off balance, so that you don't go numb, and that nothing hurts actually under you. And then second point would be to really align your back well. And one trick I use to make my back straight is I kind of tilt back and forth, and I let my body fall in place. And then I do that laterally also. And you will see that your body kind of will find its own center. Then make sure that your neck is right as well. Otherwise, you could develop tensions in your shoulders and in your neck. And the jaw should be relaxed. Like, don't necessarily clench your teeth together. You can have it a little bit open. Your lips could be touching, or let some air come in, depending on your physiology. And it's good to let the tongue relax naturally in the palati, very slowly. Also, in long sessions that we won't do today, it also prevents you from drooling, which is an added bonus. And then the eyes. It might be counterintuitive, but in true meditation, you keep your eyes open. And now, some people get into these types of meditation where they visualize a lot of things, and they kind of travel in their mind, and they go to waterfalls, and they hear birds, and they do all kinds of wonderful things. And that is fine. That helps you relax, and that takes you off the world a little bit. It gives you a break. But let us just realize that as far as resolving our suffering issues and our desires and all of that, it doesn't accomplish anything. So the reason we keep our eyes open is actually that we can remain conscious. So you close them like 3/4. You just leave them open a little bit. You look 45 degrees at an angle in front of you, like not necessarily at the floor, but towards the floor. You don't focus on anything in particular. And by keeping your eyes open, what you're practicing actually is bringing that relaxed mental state back into the real world, so that when you're stimulated visually later, you will know how to handle that. That being said, in the beginning of the session, I do encourage you to close your eyes briefly so that you can kind of separate yourself from the world and just get in the right mood. Just don't keep them closed the entire time. And yeah, that's about it. So actually, Zen Buddhists call meditation practice zazen, which means sitting. It's just sitting for them. They don't try to do anything else. We, however, in shamatha are going to focus our mind on our breath. And we're not going to try to make our breath deeper or stronger or longer. We're not going to do any of that. What we're going to try to do is just tie our mind to our breath so that it is always conscious of our breath. It could be just 25% of your attention that is focused on the breath. The idea is that you don't lose track of it. And if you get very relaxed and you start daydreaming and you start to wonder, simply bring back the mind to the breath. Don't, punish yourself. You didn't do bad. It's normal. The mind does that. It wanders. And the noticing of your mind wandering is the actual shamatha practice. This is what you want to get into the habit of noticing. Because if you start noticing your mind wandering on the cushion and you do that often, next time you're at work or you're at school or you're with friends or you're in family and there's a conflict or whatever, when you lose control of your mind, this muscle will have been flexed and you will be able to bring yourself back to a peaceful state. So that's shamatha. I will ring a bell. Our timer will last 30 minutes. You will hear 2 bells in the beginning, and then a bell after 10 minutes, and then another bell after 10 minutes, and then after that, 2 bells, which will indicate that the entire session is finished. Usually each bell, we go from shamatha to tonglen to vipassana. Today, let's just focus on the instructions I have given you, we can do the other ones another time. So we will start. I will do a body scan with you. We will relax, and after that I will just let you follow your breath. And I will leave the music on because I know it helps some of you. But if you practice meditation at home, I suggest you try to do it with complete silence. All right. Have a good session. Apparently it's too far. One more thing. You could mute yourself during meditation. Sometimes telephones ring and dogs bark, so it's a good precaution. All right. Let me start by showing you a little breathing technique that helps get into the right mood. So with one finger, you will plug one nostril, like you push on one side of your nose, and you will take 3 deep breaths out of one side. And then you switch on the other side. Then with both nostrils open, just 3 more deep breaths. These are called the 9 breaths of Naropa. He was an Indian sage. What it does scientifically is that it hyperventilates us a little bit so that we get that relaxation feeling. Oxygenates our body very well, takes it all over our blood. So it's a small feeling of well-being. And once this is done, we are ready to bring our attention to the top of our head and scan the top of our head to see if there is any tension there. And if there are, just relax our scalp and let them go. Then you can bring your attention a little bit down and relax your eyebrows, your eyelids, eye sockets. Then towards the back of your head, where you can relax the area around your ears as well. Let your attention cover the whole of your head, relaxing your cheeks, your jaw, your lip, all the way down to your chin. Then we move our attention to the back of our head, to the top of our neck, and relax the muscles of our neck slowly, down to our shoulders. Now in your posture, your hands should lay very easily in your lap. Your chest shouldn't be hard, it should remain kind of soft and open. And so make sure of that as well, that your shoulders and your chest and your upper back is relaxed. Feel this relaxed feeling going down your arms and the tip of your fingers. And then let us relax our belly and our lower back. And as your attention go from the upper part of your torso to the lower part of your torso, notice that in your solar plexus area there is something alive there, something a bit shaky. And this thing actually moves through you. The more attention you put on it, you feel it. It can fill your chest and it can fill your belly. It goes up and down like this. So you can take a moment here to feel that energy invading your entire body, so that even your little fingers feel alive. You can feel your legs being relaxed, your thighs, both of your feet, your toes. Imagine that there's a big heavy cover just applied on your shoulder and wrapping your entire body. Try and feel the warmth and the weight of it. Let yourself feel as good as when you're just lazy in bed on a Saturday morning. Some like to imagine a hot shower falling on their head and reaching every parts of their body and relaxing them. Feel the warmth and the life. And take one more deep breath. And now it's the time to tie your mind to the breath. Follow the breath as you exhale. See how your body is not limited to your body. See how you relate to space. Follow your breath as you inhale. Feel the oxygen moving through your bloodstream and contributing to your feeling of being alive. Keep your attention on the breath and realize that you're in a process of exchange with the world. The gases that you produce when you exhale are used by the plants, which clean them up and give them back to you so that you can inhale them. Everything is interconnected. Now, as you get deeper and deeper into your relaxation and into your breath, you might start daydreaming. If you start thinking, just label it thinking and bring back the mind to your breath. If you start feeling, label it feeling and bring back the mind to the breath. Same thing if you itch. And just focus on the breath. If it helps, you could count your breath also. It helps sometimes for beginners. Every time you exhale, you can count 1 and 2. And as you relax, your breath will naturally become slower. So let us breathe consciously until the next bell. Those that know the Tonglen technique can now start and do it if they want, and start your giving and receiving the people that you know or with yourself if you are suffering. And for the others, you can just keep on following your breath. I will give you a good 10 minutes now of focus on the breath so that you can really experience what it's about. If you had your eyes closed, now is a good time to have them open a little bit. If you are compelled to do other things, if you want to use your menu or your phone, or you feel like moving or scratching, realize that this is your basic restlessness and make it conscious, because that happens to you all the time in your daily life. Many times you don't make the decisions about what you do. It's just this basic restlessness moving you. So you can think about that as you practice bringing back your mind to your breath. Notice how you can become almost like a fluid while you follow your breath. How you can expand and contract so easily. Just breathe and follow your breath. Notice how time stretches as you live by the breath. This is one of the longest 10 minutes you have lived through in recent times. Realize how fast you are normally living. And take the time to breathe. advantage of a little situation that just happened. So somebody came in, hello and welcome, and that person spoke a little bit, and we all heard it, right? And so what happens is that this voice gets into our meditative state, and you may feel it as something external, you may feel it as something separate, and that's the natural reaction. But the bell in meditation, its purpose is to bring back our attention to our peace. Actually, when you hear the bell ringing, it's supposed to be a message that, oh, maybe you are wandering. Bring back your attention to the peace. I just want to point out that every sound could be used like that. The sound of the music, the sound of the little birds. And actually, Aldous Huxley has a wonderful novel about that, where all the little birds on the island call attention, attention, as if speaking to us. So a good way to integrate meditation into our life is to consider that everything is our master. Everything that we see, everything that we hear, everything that we touch, everybody that we meet, we could consider them a call for attention and mindfulness. In many ways, when you start living like that, you start to feel like the entire world is trying to bring you peace, to keep you awake, to keep you alive. And this separateness and this rivalry with stimulus now becomes an integration. It's something difficult to master, but nonetheless, it's a very good practice. And precisely what we do usually in the third phase of our meditation, which is Vipassana, a discursive meditation that reconsiders our relationship with the world. And so those who know how to practice Vipassana can do that now for this last phase. And I will simply invite all the others to keep on focusing on their breath until the last bell makes itself heard. Don't forget to bring back your mind when it wanders away from your breath. of meditation that we practice here, we make a point bringing back our peaceful state to the real world. So I encourage you to open your eyes even more. You could also look around a little bit. Try to be in this virtual world, but not of this virtual world. Examine everything in a detached fashion. Think of the illusion that's creating all of this, and of the illusion that we're all together today, although we're just avatars. Aren't we just avatars in the real world too? Try to use now only 25% of your attention on your breath as you come back to the world. All right, so this is it. First meditation session completed with us. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us today. And maybe one more question. How did it go for you? How was your practice? You can unmute yourself, by the way.
Is my mic
Too loud.
I'm sorry, Ricola?
Is my mic too loud?
No, no,
No,
no.
that's fine.
It was a little difficult for me to like stay focused during it. I've been doing meditation for like about a week. Like this one with keeping my eyes open, it's a little bit difficult.
Right.
So, I. So,
In a way, perfect sanity could be defined by our ability to sit on a little cold wooden chair and do nothing for an hour. If you're able to do that, you are pretty sane. Otherwise, it would drive most of us crazy. So it's perfectly normal to have to find it difficult. And you will also find that as your practice deepens, the disturbances become more and more conscious. So sometimes instead of progressing, it feels that you're going backwards. But it's just because you're becoming conscious of all that stuff that's going on in you and that you didn't know before. So when meditation becomes very difficult, it has a name, and it's called the bliss of suffering in Buddhism. Enjoying, seeing, and sitting with your suffering actually can become blissful because it is also a signal that you are making progress. Anybody else that found it a bit difficult today?
Well, I always have the urge that some of my muscles start to spasm or, you know, tighten up somewhere. Or my eyes, you know, it's kind of difficult to stay relaxed.
So that's also very interesting. Why do our muscles start to jump when you get relaxed? It's probably because some kind of tension is keeping them together and keeping them straight when we are not relaxed. There's actually a relaxation technique that you can try where you just lay on your back and you try to contract every muscle in your body. Like you make everything very tense. Your legs and your arms and your neck and you're like forcing very hard everywhere. And you hold that for as many seconds as you can, and then you release. And then, if you do that a few times in a row, it almost feels like a beating. So, in a way, when you're tense in daily life, that's what happens. You are, by being tense psychologically, you are tense physically. And this can create, it can actually de-align your spine or create all kinds of physical problems. So, it's something to be aware of as well. Yes, Renard, do you want to say something?
Yeah, at one point I felt like my fingers and my toe became really cold. Like my blood flow was just not there no more. Like you know when you get like ants in your finger or your feet? Like they become numb.
Right.
I felt that at one point. It was just like
Tingling
something with my
sensation
muscle being-
sometimes, yeah. I
Yeah.
always felt, yeah.
So,
Posture.
obviously, this has a lot to do with posture. So, first thing I would advise is make sure that
Jared is online.
not only you are holding a good meditation posture, but that the posture is adequate for you. If like me, you spend a lot of time in front of a computer during the day, it's probable that you already have some circulatory issues. So you could try to do some exercise to get the blood flowing, some stretches before you meditate, or just adopt another posture. You could maybe walk in meditation as your thing, or use a chair, or sit on the ground, but try to vary that a little bit. But another thing that is very interesting is as you do more meditation, you will realize how much dominion your mind has over the body. And there's an exercise where you can actually just visualize one hand becoming very warm and one hand becoming very cold. And if you do that long enough, you will feel a difference in temperature, and somebody that touches you will also do it. Actually, there's an entire practice called Tumo. It's a secret practice in Tibetan Buddhism, and Tumo means inner fire. And they become so hot that they dry wet towels on their shoulders with this. They're actually steaming from the heat. And that's a technique that yogis used to. Speaking in a low voice in VR chat doesn't work. Thank you anyway.
I think the effort was there, the execution was bad. But yeah.
Yeah, not their fault. So this technique that I am describing is a technique that yogis used when they meditated in caves in the Himalayas, where it easily goes below zero. Also, there is the Wim Hof guy. They call him the Iceman. So he's been teaching that to a lot of people. He takes ice bath and all of that, and he controls his body temperature very well. So
Yeah,
these things
I've seen that.
are siddhis, and they can be achieved quite easily, actually, through
Isn't it the guy that just
meditation.
literally climbed Mount Everest barefoot or something, like twice or something?
Yes, I'm not sure it's the same guy, but it's probably
But
the
yeah, it's
same
about
mind over matter.
I actually do the Wim Hof method with the ice baths, everything.
Oh, how does it go for you?
It's a very interesting experience. It's hard to do at first, but then after like a week and a half, I started to get really used to it. So
Tell me, because I did not study what Wim Hof is doing, but does it involve holding your breath and moving your belly and kind of using the oxygen to create the chemical reaction?
yeah. There's a lot of breathing techniques that is used during the training, I guess you could call it,
Right.
which really helps with dealing with the cold temperatures.
So if many breathing techniques are involved, and especially holding your breath, that's definitely like Tumo inspired. That's the teaching that they give you. It also involves in some
Bless
paths,
you.
you know, most Buddhists are
Oh no, COVID.
vegetarian, but in those paths sometimes they consume a lot of proteins because you're gonna burn just a tremendous amount of them. A lot of calories actually doing your Tumo exercise. You need to be very strong physically. So anyway, I guess that's all for today. Julia, are you there?
Excuse me.
Yes, please.
Is it important to open your eyes occasionally during meditation? I thought it's supposed to keep your eyes closed.
Actually, meditation on the cushion is not very useful. It's kind of counterintuitive that I'm saying that, but meditation on the cushion is like kindergarten meditation. That's where you get into the habit where you start noticing your mental and emotional states, and that's like the very formal practice. The way that, like before an archery competition, you would practice on targets on your own. That's kind of what we do on the cushion. But real meditation is like the real competition. It happens in the real world with your eyes pretty much open, and that's the point of it. Uh, Very advanced masters, many of them that I have met, do not sit a lot because they have pretty much incorporated meditation in their living. Like they go somewhere, there's a waiting room, they're waiting and they're sitting normally, but they're in meditation. They speak to you and they meditate on your voice, or they listen deeply to your emotions, and they take a walk in the woods and they listen to the birds and the trees and the wind. And so they're pretty much always meditating. So when you reach that point, like your entire environment is meditating you, so you don't need to do anything else. But until you are stable, the way to transition between the cushion and actual life is to kind of gradually open your eyes, do walk in meditation, and kind of transition slowly into something that is more active. Is it a problem that you close your eyes? I mean, you could close your eyes for 2 years straight if it helps you. The number one thing is to start noticing what's going on inside of you and take your time. Do not rush it, but do keep in the back of your mind that it will only be very useful to you when you manage to bring it at work, home, and in your relationship. Does that answer your question, Spearmint?
So I have. So in the end, I'm supposed to open my eyes, right? The point of this.
You are supposed to be cooking and washing the dishes and working and speaking to people without ever really leaving the meditative state. That's kind of the goal of this practice, to be perfectly aware all the time. And by perfectly aware, I mean what's going on inside and outside of you, so that you can adjust your inner life to the outer life. That's kind of the adjustment process there of wakefulness.
I see. Thank you.
All right, so yeah, you're welcome. Let's do the dedication, Julia, and then maybe Karl, would you be up to give us a little tour of the new cafe?
Yeah,
Cafe?
definitely. I'm actually uploading it as we talk,
Oh,
so
okay.
5 minutes from now we'll be ready.
Oh, great. Okay.
Wait, I just
Please
wanted
all
to
rise.
say. Oh no.
Yes, please.
I just want to say that I'll catch you later. I'm at work right now. Fun seeing everyone who's new here, and God bless. Merry Christmas.
Gosh, I have to go to sleep.
Merry Christmas.
You mean you have to meditate, Spearman?
We're done in literally 3 phrases, guys, so
Yeah.
please just all rise for the dedication and then we may exit the frame. Alright, Julia.
For the benefit of beings without exception, I dedicate without any reticence whatsoever all the merit accrued through virtuous acts to the incomparable expanse of totality.
Thank you. So, little bow, everybody, thank you. And just follow the person that you followed in, and if you don't know, when nobody's moving, you can exit.
Actually, I'll wait after Karl, I guess.
Actually, I don't think you're right about earlier. He did say that you have to open your eyes eventually. So you do have to open them sometimes. Right now I have to sleep. Seriously.
That's something you have to do with your eyes closed, isn't it?
Yeah. It's crazy. Because
Well,
normally
actually, some people
when people depict meditation, it's people's eyes closed.
actually sleep with their eyes a little bit open. You know that. My brother was one of those.
Huh. To be honest with you, it's crazy that we play games about hunting ghosts, and somehow we're supposed to keep our minds calm. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
you
I
know
know
what I'm saying?
We live in a crazy world in real life as well.
Waking up hungover is the best mood to be in for this either.
I have to go now. So
I'll see you later.
thank you, Casper.
Spearman. Don't worry. Take care.
Yeah.
Maybe you can do airbending at the end. Who knows?
See you as well, streamer.
Yeah. Real funny.
Come on out, you guys.
See you next time.
See you next time, Spearman.
Come on, Casper.
Oh,
I need a nap too.
Zenkei.
I'm so stressed right now.
I'm sorry. I do have to ask.
Teaching and meditation.
I have a final in like 3 hours.
Hold on.
You can ring it, Julia. I think this person is away from keyboard.
Yeah, there's no one inside.
Okay, guys, that's the signal that you may now talk.
Oh.
We're still waiting.
Oh no.
Zenkei.
Yes.
I think
yes.
Spearman might want to ask something because
How'd it go?
he was
Oh
mentioning.
Yes.
There's Malco over there.
So you did mention that the advanced users of meditation had 3 stages, like earlier. So the first stage was
The world is beautiful.
to exercise the
Check out of
breathing,
it.
and then
Huge.
the second set was to question ourselves inside.
Do you know who made it?
Okay, no, sorry, it's not about the advanced user, it's just our regular user. We have a special way of meditating. First phase is about peace, shamatha, then Tonglen is about altruism, and then the third stage we do Vipassana, which is questioning the world. But as you come back, you will learn all of this, Spearman. Don't worry. It's also in the end book that you can get from the Discord.
Program, so.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
I can give you eventually the Discord. That's no issue, Spearman. But make sure that you sleep well this time.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, and there's so many
Still in
people in here.
progress
So
of the
that's really
update.
well.
Need to get
I stayed up for a good reason.
It's a big world. Like there's an entire area over there, and eventually these houses will be occupied by all kinds of teachers, teaching all kinds of things. This is the Buddhism meditation one, you could say. But yeah, Karl worked quite hard on this world.
Hey, Malka.
The bigger question is, I wanted to ask Karl,
Oh,
but
yeah.
maybe I shouldn't, actually.
No, ask Karl. Oh wait,
Sure
hold on.
thing, sure thing.
Question's
Yeah,
gonna be stupid.
Let's make
Just
our
a
path
second.
there and make that. Yeah, let's go.
He's going to show something that he made newly.
What's happening?
Cafe.
Yeah, but not to get drunk, I think.
The new cafe.
Let's follow Everybody's coming.
Yeah, okay.
Who's tweeting? It's been like 2 years since I touched the drop.
So those who have visited the world before know the concept. Each building has its own location. There's going to be our Japanese museum. And down there we have the cafe is going to be put in the world very soon. So Karl's going to drop a portal when we arrive on location, and we can go visit the better version that's going to be released this week.
Cafe.
That's fantastically interesting.
We're like a bunch of seagulls following someone.
Don't forget decaf for me, Karl, in your cafe.
Unfortunately, I cannot emote potatoes, otherwise I would. Alright, so Karl, where are you? Alright.
Yeah. Now to practice a bit of our meditation in real life, we have to wait 1 minute in silence for the world to upload.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Oh my, is that
Let your
Keanu
minds
Reeves?
go. Let your minds go. All over.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Hello.
Or is that Johnny Silverhand?
I knew the Archon had a lot of reach, but I didn't expect Keanu Reeves.
This game is still not glitched, by the way, fix it.
Yeah, a lot of bugs.
I know.
I can't even save. What is that?
Sorry. We're working on it.
I'm an imposter. I stole
You're there. I didn't even see you. How are you?
There is some person. It is shy over there. It's hiding.
Oh,
so
hold on.
Oh, really?
Give me a sec.
Yeah, it is running away. It's fine.
Someone's running. I got them.
No, I think the shy would usually run away from the attention, but okay.
Do you know what the name is?
No, I didn't.
Let's change the shy person. It's gonna make them a...
Oh, no, oh shit. Ah, god damn it. Darn it. Why does everyone keeps me inviting into the bloody murder? Now is a good time to meditate. Now is a really good time to meditate. I think my VR chat just froze. Wonderful.